Hello and welcome. I'm Zoltan. We all know the generative AI and GitHub Copilot could revolutionize the way of working and how we code. But as they say, every coin has two sides. Today in this video I will talk about the lesser discussed side of the Copilot.
The dark side of the Copilot.
I will explain the potential security concerns surrounding GitHub Copilot and how you can navigate these challenges to ensure safe and effective coding, mainly if you are working in a professional setting. Before we get started, let me recap how Copilot works on a surface level and why it is so brilliant. So, let's dive deeper. In order for Copilot to work, an AI model is necessary. For GitHub, this AI model is called Codex. To produce such a model, you need to analyze vast amount of data. They say you need to train a model on tons and tons and tons of data. Especially for GitHub Copilot or for Codex, these were programming data. Copilot was trained on publicly available code or open source GitHub repositories, millions and millions and millions of lines of publicly available open source code. And this is when it becomes tricky because not every open source is licensed equally. Not every open source license is the same. And this massive data mining operation involved a thorough scan of these public repositories. If Copilot was trained on publicly available code, some of that code might be poorly written, some of the code might be just bad, malicious, unsafe, or contain, and this is important, copyrighted content. And Copilot was trained on these data. Copilot learned from good code, but Copilot learned from bad code, and Copilot learned also from copyrighted code. You might now argue that, okay, how does it affect me if we all know that Copilot is a generative AI? It doesn't copy code, it generates code. And this is where it becomes a little bit tricky. Even Copilot admits that in about 1% of the time, a suggestion may contain a code snippet longer than 150 characters that match the training set. What does it mean? That in 1% of the cases, you will receive as a suggestion the exact same code what was used to train Codex. So the original code used for training Codex will be given back to you as a suggestion. This is more than enough to introduce a security or copyright related risk unknowingly, but introduce into your code base. From a copyright perspective, it's a very interesting case because copyright doesn't define the length of a copyrighted code. It could be even a single line if it's brilliant or smart enough. There is no clear cut answer to this. While you could argue that OpenAI has addressed already these concerns, their documentation still says that output generated by code generation features of Copilot services could still contain third-party licenses, including without limitation open source licenses. So they say that the generated code still could violate copyright laws. So they are still protecting themselves here and there in a certain level. How it will end up, we will see, but these issues highlight some major security concerns we will just very quickly run through to understand and to bake it into our heads when we code and we are using day-to-day Copilot. That Copilot could have some dangers. Copilot has the dark side as well. So security concern number one, data privacy and leakage. GitHub Copilot requires a connection to the GitHub servers, and if you are working with Copilot, it sends your code to the GitHub server. They argue that your code is not stored anywhere, that your code is not used to train further codecs, but you never know. Even though they promise to not store the data, the constant back-to-back communication with their servers raises still data privacy concerns. Security concern number two, open source license violation, exactly what we were talking about. So if Copilot was trained on publicly available code or open source code, and it generates you code snippets which could be long 150 characters, you could get back as a suggestion the copyrighted code he learned. Issue number three, misleading or incorrect code. If Copilot was learning from bad code, it could generate you back bad code. That's easy. That easy. And the last is a very interesting thing, which is now a quite highly discussed topic, which is the training data poisoning. In machine learning, there is a concept of data poisoning where the training data can be intentionally manipulated to make the AI behave in certain ways. So, if Copilot data was somehow poisoned or manipulated, it could suggest compromised or malicious code, and you could use it and basically integrate it into your organization code base. So, these are the potential security concerns you need to be aware of and how to cope with them. So in the last part of my video, I will just very quickly run through how you could use Copilot safely, ethically, to generate you the most efficient output as it can, but you need to learn how to use it in a secure way. So, first of all, management compliance. This kind of tool, if you want to use, you want to be clear with your management or the person charged in IT security that they comply with usage of Copilot. It's a very important point that you need to understand the generated code. Ensure you fully comprehend the Copilot suggestion. So commit, and it's a general rule, commit only the code you thoroughly reviewed and understand, whether it's coming from Copilot, Stack Overflow, Google, your friend, from anywhere. Commit only the code you thoroughly understand and you reviewed. You need to be aware as well of GitHub Copilot terms and conditions, as you could find out that even they say that you are responsible for your own code. You are responsible for ensuring the security and quality of your code. Quote from GitHub Copilot documentation: you are responsible for ensuring the security and quality of your code. We recommend you to take some precaution when using code generated by GitHub Copilot that you would when using any code you didn't write yourself. These precautions include rigorous testing, IP scanning, and tracking for security vulnerabilities. So, in conclusion, while GitHub Copilot offers a huge potential to speed up development as is you as a programmer, it's essential to approach it with healthy dose of caution, especially caution concerning security. So it's a tool, and like all the tools, it requires a responsible coder or user. Being said that, thank you for tuning it and ensure your coding is secure and efficient. Thank you for watching and have a great day.